Hey,
Hey,
man, we didn't have to stop right in the middle of a hotspot fundraising drive, dude.
no worries, no worries. We don't have. It's crazy, and I appreciate what you're doing. I want to make sure you get what you got. And
No sweat.
John, who's right here.
Hey, John.
Um, Hello. It was unplanned. We're doing this is a pre-planned like tape call, so we can pass this on. If I understand correctly, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I will not speak until spoken to. You're
So
good. Thank you. John's the succession plan.
you got
So
you guys can do a tandem appearance. It doesn't freaking matter. Basically,
I'm here to help. It's
everybody's
gonna
in
be.
everybody's in this
I
together.
want to give you kind of like the bare bones. It'll be easier if I lay it out. Anyway, you're just speak when spoken to.
So what I'm gonna
No,
do.
you request my speech. This is a great example of
Wait,
the.
hold on. I'm gonna create a quick edit point / intro. So let me get comfortable. I decided that for audio purposes, and I'm screen recording this now, um, that my car has, you should be able to hear me really nicely. My car has some great acoustics. And so I decided I'm going to do this here. Um, so those of you that know me, I'm Bob Diamond. I'm the guy that put that together, being the protocol. Um, I am addressing my 13,000 plus members in the group, and also those of you who are watching in on my own other social media connections. And if you can recognize the flag in the background, we are talking to Ukraine. Actually, we're talking to Ben Dusing, who is in a small town in Ukraine. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Good, Bob. Thank you, and thank you to all of your subscribers,
Are you
followers, friends.
every day for you is difficult because you are living and working within a war zone, doing things that others won't do because it is dangerous times 10. Did you have a good day? I know it's about almost 7 p.m. your time now. Did you have a decent day, or from the looks of this, no?
You know,
I mean, you're alive, so every day is a good day.
it is. Other people are not, and that's what makes it always difficult to say that. Sometimes it's people you know, and they're in kind of our smaller community here, but it's always it's hard to feel good. Yeah, I don't know how to feel. Yeah, I'm happy that I'm alive, and I'm happy that Christine is alive, and John has been really instrumental for us is alive, and everybody around here. But you know that every day people. I have a tough time saying it's a good day when 10 or 15 civilians are dead or injured every day. But it wasn't a catastrophic day.
Okay,
It was the normal death day.
got it. It was nothing up close and under your own feet, and you haven't added to your concussive condition, having been blown up about 10 days ago. Um, so, real quick background. Ben is an American, probably the coolest American patriot I have met remotely. And I say American patriot because um, he's a retired attorney who used to put bad guys away. And I'm assuming you probably defended some good guys at some point. But he found himself in college going over into Russia, learning the language rather, and then going over to Russia after he learned how to speak Russian, and kind of enjoyed his experience with the people and the land. And when this whole Ukrainian Russian attack occurred, the Russians infiltrated Ukraine and decided they wanted to own it. They started injuring a lot of people, a lot of civilians. It wasn't so much a military soldier versus soldier circumstance. It was the Russians mercilessly bombing the living shit out of civilians just to terrorize them off of their own land. So Ben put his money where his mouth was, and he decided to go over there and help. Pick it up from there. So he's in a war zone, pretty much the only hot red zone in Ukraine.
I am so probably the most unlikely so-called frontline humanitarian ever. I didn't even know what that was. It was an epic journey, but the short version was had the kind of like divorced dad. I worked for myself, small law office, had 20 years of practice in law, and had done what I wanted to do, just trying to live a little bit slower. And the war broke out, and personal circumstances collided to help as well. And just felt so I speak Russian randomly. I studied Russian in college. I lived in St. Petersburg as part of that. And then I took a year off before I went to law school and lived in Moscow, Russia. Now, this was 1997. So spoke the language. I then went to law school and had a 20-year legal career and kept up with the area and occasionally went back, but certainly didn't speak Russian on a daily basis. Didn't, had never been in Ukraine when the war broke out. Obviously was very interested in that and followed along and just oddly felt called to I have to admit, Bob, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I don't know that I did a whole lot of volunteering, like whatever, but it just, you're looking at this and I'm thinking, man, I think I could probably be of a little more assistance than the average person, given that I can speak one of the languages that they speak. So Russian and Ukrainian are very similar. Russian is the first language of Ukrainians in the East and the South, which is where the war is. And I thought, I don't know. So I just went to the border for a week. So I did, just went to the border for a week, a couple weeks after the full scale invasion. And long story short, it was abundantly clear that I could be unusually of assistance, and was immediately sort of thrust into roles that I didn't. People asked me to do things, and I did it. And from that point, that gave rise to a kind of an epic journey that I'm still on. It's become kind of my purpose and passion. But no one knew how long the war was going to go, any of that thing. So it evolved over time. But ultimately, based on relationships at the border, where I bet the best people I've ever, people like you, the people that just wonderful people that for no reason at all other than out of love and selflessness and sincere care and concern about their fellow human beings, made epic sacrifices to do that. And I have never been in the military, never been frontline guy in the world, but there was some folks that had kind of that background and were in the Kharkiv region at the time, and they were overwhelmed. Just overwhelmed. And the big foreign humanitarian organizations that I sort of thought did everything and have $1 billion budgets, like the International Committee for the Red Cross and UNICEF related kind of things, as it turns out, really don't do much at all, really, but they certainly don't do danger, which is a bummer because there's no way to help the people that need the help most of all, which are the people who are close to the war, without doing, without fighting off a little bit of risk. So believe it or not, it's people sort of like you and I that step into those spaces. And as it turns out, there's people that kind of know how to do that. I didn't know them, but my friends that were asked me to come, and the idea was, look, I'm just adding capacity. I don't know anything. Just what can I do? How can I help? I can follow directions. And we had, a long-standing relationship at that point from the border. And my paralegal was, interested in doing it. So he did that as well. By that point, I had spent time in Kyiv, Europe. And anyway, long story short, within a couple hours of arriving to Kharkiv, I was whisked away to meet these two people. I had no idea who they were. One was an American, one was a Brit from Liverpool. Our kind of guys, English speakers in Kharkiv. I didn't really understand what was going on, but anyway, wonderful people. I had no idea who they were. I thought we were just having dinner. That conversation ended with, "What are you doing tomorrow? I think you can help us out." And if they had told me anything, Bob, about what exactly we would be doing the next day, you and I would not be talking here. But they didn't, and I understand in hindsight why they didn't. And the next morning, here we are, and before I know it, we're in the first wave of humanity into a newly liberated village. The counteroffensive had begun, and as it turns out, these were the badass elites whose mission it was to get to the people no one else was going to get to, and there was a skill set for that. But no one told me that anyway. We became sort of their crew, and ultimately that we sort of accidentally learn some things that you need to learn, acquired equipment that isn't cheap that you need to acquire, some experience that, as it turns out, how many people have, and then some relationships that are important in that
What
kind of
did
work
what did
without
what did
knowing
they
they're
have
going
you what did
to.
they have you do that you
Well, we're just
probably,
their
if
crew.
you had known ahead of time, you might have gone, yeah, pass.
The whole mission. I mean, we were one town over from the war, in newly liberated territories. That I mean, the first humans to go into these areas where the Russians had just vacated. There's mines all over the place. The military doesn't stop to clear those things out. It's a pretty chaotic environment. There's Russians there. There's the war's one town over. It's an insanely dangerous place. Now, from where I sit right now, that's like going to Chuck E. Cheese on a Saturday. But 2 years ago, so we sort of accidentally kind of learned how to do that, and as it turns out, and so they ultimately moved on and ultimately were killed.
I've heard you talk before, and you've always got a tourniquet in your pocket. Um, so to give you guys who are watching and listening to fill in the gaps here, here's a guy with no training, walking around in a war zone, seeing people dying around him, a civilian walking around saving lives, and then later trying to bring food, medicine, comfort, whatever he can get his hands on, to help these people who largely are not being ignored by their neighbors, um, but are being ignored by the traditional um, saviors of people in disasters. So pick it up from there,
And
because
yeah, and if I
obviously
could, and
vagueness is not a great place to be.
so yeah, and so that was all before that happened in the East back in 2022 as part of that counteroffensive. The last place that was liberated as part of that was a place called Kherson, which is down here in the south and isolated. So, as I learned, kind of, how do you serve the frontline populations? You run in and out. We were based in Kharkiv outside of artillery range, and you're more or less safe, and you run in and you distribute the aid. I mean, what do you do? We're getting we're delivering aid to people that need it the most. They're at the front of the front, and then evacuating people out of there. I mean, that's really what the work is. So you're running in and out, but um, that was running in and out when Kherson was liberated. It was the only. It was the one big city liberated. There's not a lot of people. Less than 1.5% of Ukrainians lived under Russian occupation. So this is sort of a subcategory, and this is a different wartime experience entirely. So the Russians tortured, raped, and executed the civilian population in the areas that they occupied. So in the east, those are small towns and villages, and that's bad. Okay, and if you look at a map, you're going to see, okay, you've got the previously occupied territories, and it's about 20% or whatever it is of, but it's really myopic because what matters is the people, not the land, right? And so Kherson is the one big city. So from a population perspective, the critical mass of that previously occupied territory, the critical mass of the frontline populations, if you will, is more or less in broad strokes the city of Kherson. So once the city was liberated, we were asked to. By that point, we had inherited the mantle. I didn't really know that was what was going to happen, but we were asked to come down and help. We had a capability that the locals needed. So the Russians, and if I could show a map, Bob,
Please,
if I can.
please, please.
So the city was liberated, which is more of a process than an event. But this is the city of Kherson. So Kherson 101, real quick. Good guys, bad guys. This is an insert, so ignore that. And this is the front, the Dnieper River. If you go out that door right there and walk straight for about a kilometer, when you get wet, you've walked into the front. Now you're not going to be able to go that far because you're going to get stopped by probably some things on this side of the river, and if not some people, and if you actually get far enough, people on this side of the river are going to take care of that. So this is the city of Kherson, pre-war 400,000. The Russians occupied it. The city was liberated. Really, the city was deoccupied. And the Russians go across the river where they, entrenched on this side of the river. So, the city of Kherson on the so-called right bank, the Russians on the so-called left bank. Again, this is an insert. And so unexpectedly following the liberation, which was officially in November, but it takes a while to clear a city of this many. So we arrived in January, which is as soon as you could get here. We were asked to come down by the local organization that sprung up in the aftermath of the occupation, kind of local volunteers, locals that kind of came together to help their people. A very inchoate time, but they didn't have a capability. They asked us to come down, and so ostensibly for 10 days to do something. But when we saw this place, we haven't served anywhere else because there's no place that it's the one big city that was occupied and the only major population center that's an artillery range. It's directly on the front. So by definition, those two things put it in a different category. And it was immediately apparent that this is, just the worst of the worst. And why is that? And that is because unlike the other frontline populations where you have in the end a small number of people that are left behind. So anybody that can get out gets out, obviously, but there's always that percentage that can't. These are those that have no place to go. People say, Ben, well, why can't they be evacuated? Well, they can be. That's the easiest part of that. Who's going to take care of them? You can't drop them off in the middle of the field. So people that cannot care for themselves, in a word, the elderly, and then the poor. That's a small percentage of the population, and unless it's a big city, a small percentage of a not big number is a couple thousand, a couple hundred, and you can run in and run out and drop off all the stuff. But a small percentage of a big number is a big number, and you have the perfect storm. You have a very odd front where the front is a physical boundary. It's a river that is not at all, the norm, and it sets up a dynamic where people are way closer together. Main forces of
And
enemy
that
combatants.
that river, for those who don't know, that river is about 1,500 feet wide, where the city is.
It is inconveniently narrow right here. You're right, Bob. So what was not expected, what began after the occupation. So 9 months of effectively a mini Auschwitz, the systematic torture, terror, and execution of the local civilian population, the very same things that the Germans did to the people in the concentration camps, the very same things that the Russian Federation did to the civilian population here. 28 torture chambers / the death chambers spread throughout the city. Obviously, the scale a lot different, but just a horrible thing. But then the Russians go across the river here, and then began just indiscriminately shelling the civilian population every single day, just lobbing mortars, lobbing tank rounds, lobbing
And
artillery rounds
this is
into
going
this.
on now.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. So on average, it's about it's 300 plus rounds. It's literally going on outside right now. But it never really stops. It rotates throughout the city. It isn't incessant, but the northern district of the city is just a smidge less. I mean, it's not. It's different than the heart of the city, the urban core, and the local organization set up wisely. Far away. We helped them. Went to their office. They gave us a place to live. Did that for the first 9 months and just became ingrained in the city. It's a totally different place, and the foreign humanitarian organizations that are resident in the other parts of Ukraine, all of which are out of artillery range. This is the front. This is
Let me put
the front.
some important perspective that you're skipping around, because I know that you talk about this every day, and you and I have talked about it. um, and that is the trajectory of rounds. When someone fires a tank round, it goes a certain distance. When someone fires a mortar, it goes a certain distance. And in this case, you've got close quarters distance between the bad side and the good side, and that little 1,500-foot line of water there. And so they had to get creative and start using drones to drop grenades into the most populated areas of the city. And this is one of
Yeah.
the biggest
So
issues:
if I,
terrorist
yeah,
warfare.
it is. And um, so the shelling hasn't stopped, and that has continued, but it's indiscriminate rounds just being lobbed into the city and just destroying things. The front part of the city right here, obviously being the worst hit. Um, the drones really, now it's a plus one. It's not in lieu of. So the shelling continues like it always has, and is but it's indiscriminate. You can kind of you get some heads up. You hear it down the street. You kind of learn how to do that. It's you can't lob that many rounds into a condensed civilian population of 60,000 and not kill somebody and not maim somebody. So, but the death toll, maybe a couple every day. The drones really began in earnest as a part of everyday life last summer, and that is a absolute game changer. And so these are small little FPV drones. You can't see them, you can't hear them. These are not the Shahi train, the long range things. These are small, light. You can't see them, you can't hear them, and they hold grenades and just drop them on people. They they have a very limited range. This is the only major population that they can reach. So this is the first population in human history that has had to deal with this surreal phenomenon of little machines in the sky that you cannot see and cannot hear. That all this, I mean, just hunt civilians and drop grenades on them. It's savage. And this area, which has been designated the red zone by the Russians have said, look, if you're in this area, get out. If you're there, we don't care who you are, you're a legitimate military target. The vehicles are, so now anybody that could get out of here got out of here a long time ago. So that really didn't have much of an effect. We're right here, right smack dab in the middle of that red zone. And this is just a savage reality. So on a daily basis, here's what you're guaranteed. There's a lot more than this, but this is what you're guaranteed waking up. A 24-hour cycle where you have on average 300 incoming rounds lobbed, sometimes closer or further from you. The mortar rounds are really the worst for us. Between 80 to 100 drone attacks every day, and at least 10, and I think we all know more than that, civilians dead or seriously injured. You know you're getting that when you wake up. That is the best version of reality. But here's, if I could just here's the hidden, because the war is what gets your attention, but here's the silent killer, and it's as much a threat to the population because of this. And so the difference between this and all the other places, and what makes Kherson is that you can't run in and out of, you can't serve a population. Somebody's got to be here. Ultimately, the city closed to foreigners. I was grant lawful residency, which is the only reason that we can reside here, and have this place. But but the chronic undersupply, the danger scares away the help, and so people run in and run out a little bit, and oftentimes not too far. You know what I mean? So the insane danger, the chronic undersupply that is a consequence of that's the drone finder right over there. So it's just all day. It's a completely insane environment. But the undersupply, the poverty, Bob, the poverty that is the consequence of that insane, truly different and kind danger, scaring away the supply for that long. So you have a ticking time bomb, over time, and no one envisioned that it would go on for this long. So for me, it's not as sexy. It doesn't get the headlines, but the heart, that to me, living here, working here, it is yes. There's a lot of the civilian population is threatened by the things blowing up, and but as much as that, they don't have enough to eat. They don't have enough. They don't have the basics, and hence our mission, which is to keep people alive until they can sustain their own lives, and that's it. That's the only thing that's achievable in this environment.
To add to the perspective of this, if you can turn back to the map for a second. Um, so this larger area that, I don't know, is it north of the river, which is where the city is? That's
Yes, this is an insert, so ignore this.
okay.
Yeah, this is the city. Yeah.
So you reside. First of all, that city used to have a few 100,000 people. Now it has less than 75,000 people, and we're not sure how many because those numbers are dropping every day. People are dying because they're getting blown to hell, or they're just dying because no one is looking after them. And you
And there's no
reside,
official statistics in a place like this. No one really,
right?
you know what I mean?
You
Yes,
reside,
yeah,
you
we're
reside inside of that red zone, and you are running around without any outside support other than the locals or guys like me who stumble upon you doing lives on TikTok.
I was gonna say,
Um,
we got you, Bob. We
you, you
got you and
you
your
got
friends,
me,
and
and you
people
got
like you. Good
and,
people like you.
and you got my attention because this is like in America we have our problems and they're frickin' dire, but they're not nearly as dire as those of the people you are trying to help. It's one thing to from a political side to hear about all of the garbage we're about to drown in, and but we can still walk outside our front door and not hear mortars, not hear bombs coming in, not get a grenade dropped on us, not yet anyway. Um, but that's the daily life of anyone that lives in that red zone, and there is no organized other than what you have done and some others have done who are not you and are not based inside of Kherson. There is no organized assistance. I'm assuming you probably don't have any military trying to combat the bad guys there at the city. Do you have a military presence provided by Ukraine that's making dents on the other side of the river, or no?
Well, um, so you can safely assume that all of the people and things that you need to fight a war are very much present here in force, and that's part of the problem. Because what you don't want are is a huge number of civilians living around, much less on top of those folks. So that is, and it's the front. So
You don't want to
the only thing that,
retaliate and attract attention and hurt civilians around you. The Russians don't care. But you, as a defender, not you personally, but let's say the Ukrainian government forces or any other, you've got to kind of be quiet, I would assume.
well,
They.
so I'm no military strategist, but this river is basically impregnable. The Russians were on this side; they couldn't hold it because you blow up the supply. The Ukrainians made a very ill-fated attempt to take the other side. Locally, just speaking locally, I think there's an understanding that anybody we're not fighting over land here, which is one of the reasons it's so tragic. The front hasn't moved. It's a river. Rivers don't move, and at this point, I think that there's and certainly the soldiers, my soldier friends, of which there are quite a few, and those are very important relationships to operate in this environment. Um, you know, so but you got people over there shooting this way. You have to have a troop presence so that they don't try and come across the river again. And so you have it goes it's going both ways. But anything uh, everything at the front is hidden, especially now with drones. So you walk outside and you look whatever you look at, certainly the red zone, whatever you're looking at, all is that that's not what it is. And all of the important people and all of the important things are hidden. And so we can't do this wasn't the plan, but and we came down at the request of the local organization at first, just to stay 10 days and do something that they needed to have done. They needed the help. This was by far the worst place. We immediately relocated. We've served here ever since. We stayed in a first help them. We were just an appendage of that local organization. Since then, there's other groups that have spread out, but still that. But this is locals helping locals. We learned the city, became a part of the place, and at some point in time, when it became clear that this wasn't, there was a long term, there was a problem, and that was that there needed to be a brick and mortar place right downtown. I mean, the hole is always, right up front, but those are the people that need it the most. The local organization was ingrained wisely on the outskirts. So at that point, we were really the only ones that could come down here and set up a brick and mortar
So
office. And that's
that's where we are
why
right
we
now.
did it.
We're inside of your
Right.
free store, and boxes we see behind you are supplies of things that you have brought in and continually send out as the locals that you serve by appointment, and is just about 930 of them or so. They come in by appointment so they don't crowd the door and attract the attention. And they come in and they collect from you. Tell us what.
The things that they need to stay alive: food, medicine, hygiene, and clothing, warmth. So,
And this is stuff, that you collect from either direct donation from local sources, or you purchase. And in, I guess in the larger case, you're purchasing things like, I heard the other day that you purchased 6,000 servings of soup for about $1,500. So in terms of dollars, you've determined it costs about $10 a head to serve people for a month, and they come to you and they collect a month's worth of supplies, and out they go.
that's that's right. And so, just a little bit of history that might help it make some sense. There really wasn't a plan to start a free store at all. As it turns out, uh, at the time we opened the office, which was a long time ago, September of 2023, you can see the office here. The idea was just to be a brick and mortar place down in this area for the people to go, much like the brick and mortar place that the locals had, out here. And so, but we discovered, in fact, Christina, the free store at the front began when we got a call from Christina, desperate in need for help for her family. It turned out that her family, particularly her grandmother, lived right here, and still does, right on the front. And so I don't think anybody really understood how many. You don't go down here. Your line of sight to the Russian positions. I mean, this is. But long story short, in the course of helping Christina and her family, my eyes were opened to the plight of what this area here along directly on the riverbank. It's called the Perobezhnaya zone. Literally translated the coastal zone. In Kentucky, we call it the riverbank. These people, because they're so close, no light, no power, no heat, year round. We had opened an office really on the precipice of the apocalypse. So at that point in time, the other districts of the city, there was a point, there was a place where people could go to get humanitarian assistance. But because of the proximity, this population did not have one. And so the idea was we could fill that hole, that targeted hole, because we were just sort of, just outside of, like, literally right down the street, a couple blocks. And so it was a small targeted kind of deal. And at that point in time, we didn't ask for, we self-financed. It wasn't, World Aid Runners wasn't even a thing. And we just could get some donated supply on a regular basis. And the idea was we would serve a couple hundred people a month. It was designed by Christina for her people. And I called it, we just opened an office. So that's it right there. That's the free store over there. The signal's bad, or else I would show you. But I called it the office where we put the shit that people need to live.
Right.
That wasn't very catchy. The locals started calling it the Bezplotny Magazine, the free store. And so that's what we called it. But for a brief moment in time, it was a modest little place, flying under the radar, where people could walk up the street to get the things that they needed to live, filling that hole. We would go down there and get the people that couldn't get to us. And for a brief moment in time, that was it. And then all hell broke loose. And two things happened which completely changed the situation that never could have been foreseen, have created the current situation. And it just became way above my pay grade. First, humanitarian assistance was effectively turned off for most people. The reasons for that are too long to explain, but there's no work here. There's a handful. There's 2 cafes. There's 1 supermarket. I mean, it's the front. Shit's blown up, and so nobody has a job. So people overwhelmingly reliant on state assistance, and so I mean, after we set up this little free store one day, all of a sudden there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people coming to the store, congregating up front. You can't have crowds here. This made no sense to me. It took me a week of figuring out, wading through what had happened here. What had happened that this was the other places, humanitarian. There was no other place to go for state assistance anymore. And so now we were serving citywide. You have people coming from all parts of the city to this little room that isn't advertised anywhere, that flies under the radar, and really the only place that they could get for assistance. So um, way above, we didn't have a donor base, no, and so way above our pay grade. So my impulse was, look, there are organizations in Ukraine, further away from the war, doing good work, but the need not as great, and I could recruit them down. They have the resources to serve on that kind of level, but then the city closed to foreigners as of April 4th, 2024. So those 2 things happened real quick. And at that point in time, obviously my plan to recruit other organizations down to be resident here was out the window. And all of a sudden, just like that, Bob, we had the only foreign humanitarian organization resident here, and with thousands of Ukrainians, really their only hope to live. That is not exactly, and that was a shit your pants moment, pardon my friends. And at that point, we need it's a big footprint to serve on that kind of scale. We have the office, and the free store is part of, this is a converted law office in a commercial building right smack downtown. We have the corporate apartment over there. We have the fleet of vehicles, the full-time staff. So you have, and we were able to, that's part of, I capitalized the entity, and just, that was this. But all of this, I didn't have the ability to stroke a check for, in the end, we estimate 2,000 Ukrainians a month for at least a year. And so what makes it different is that, even if the hot war were to end tomorrow right here, the humanitarian situation doesn't change at all, because it's really about the economy. If there's an economy, there's jobs. If people have a job, they don't need humanitarian assistance. If they don't, they do. So everything's blown up. It's, you got to repair the businesses, repair the homes. People will come back.
Takes a lot of
It's going
time.
to take that. So the minimum time frame here. So the mission is to keep them alive. I mean, until they can stand on their own 2 feet. So it's a long-standing project. So what you're talking about is 2,000 people a month for at least 12 months. That's 24,000 of everything. And
what that amounts
at
to in
that point in
dollars
time,
and cents is between $200,000 and $250,000 for a year. And
yes, sir.
and when you're serving, like right now, you've got to generate just under 10K a month to serve who you're serving, and that doesn't include whatever support the infrastructure of what you've assembled needs. And so in our world here,
It's
it's a drop in the bucket.
it's
In your world, it's like you're fishing, you have to fish for an angel. And we've got so much decadent money over here that somebody could solve Kherson's problem with the stroke of a pen in a snap and never feel it. Never feel it.
and to be clear, lots of people, and Mr. Henson's one over there who's in town to, people like him have really invested in the free stores so that we've been able to grow it. But let me just be clear. So to be clear, we do not help the needy. I wish we could. We do not help the uncomfortable.
You help the dying.
Christina, Svetlana, and Igor make a determination of whether you are going to live or not if you don't get, if you don't get help from us. If we have to, if you're going to stay alive, no matter how agonizing, we have to say no. If you're not, you get on the list. This is a list Christina maintains. It currently has 900 people on it, every single individual name. And if you're on the list, then that means you aren't going to stay alive with that assistance here. So if you're on the list, you come every month. Christina calls, gives you your date and time. We rotate people in so that we don't have crowds, and so that we can shelter if the shelling's right on us. And you get every month the food, medicine, hygiene, and warmth in the form of clothes that you need to stay alive, and you get that every month. So it's a program of assistance. The overall need we estimate is 2,000, the equivalent of 2,000 people a month. Right now it's 900, and everyone, these it's you see the 859, 867, 870.
Yeah.
It's a list of all the people whose lives humanity saves. And so they come in. It's not sexy. We're trying to do it quick. There's no place really here that's safe. The safest place is home. So we want people home. People to stay indoors, especially in the red zone. It's a little bit better in the northern part of the city, but you're not going to be chased by a drone, which are basically ubiquitous in this area. And you've got a decent chance if you're hit with the garden variety artillery. By no means does that mean you're safe. There's no place here that's safe. There's aerial things. There's other things, but that's so we want people to come in very quickly, get what they need. It's no fuss. Look, there's only one way this works. No fuss, no forms, no nothing. We take a picture of everybody that gets stuff with the stuff that they get. We don't require documents. This is the one big city that was occupied. So having your Ukrainian documents was a great way of being, yeah. So shocker, a big part of the population. So one reason that the big programs don't work is that it's very standard and very workable and very reasonable, that they require people to present their documents.
They
And
want to
further away from the war,
qualify.
that's fine.
They need to qualify and
If I
count.
had to,
And all you need to do is feed, clothe, and hug and send them on their way. I have seen live video, and if anybody, everybody for some reason has a love-hate relationship with TikTok. You haven't done a whole lot on YouTube. You have a relatively large following on TikTok. You're live every day, and we're watching people come and go when you care to show them to the free store. And I want to say there's bubbies and zetas and old folks and the occasional person who's not so old that you run into. And most of those have been gathered together to assist you in helping the others. And so, we've talked for 43 minutes now about the fact that
and thank you for
I just want you to know the fact that
that.
you are not defended where you are. You cannot run down to the port city and direct a container of supplies to come to you. You have to find all of the remaining little um, locations that have supplies that get forwarded to those areas that are safer to travel within, and you have to purchase items or collect near expired items to bring, and you're doing that yourself with your fleet of vehicles and friends. And so you go out and you buy a couple hundred loaves of bread, and you have bread day, and you go out into the town and you have a bunch of people come running out of their houses, grab a loaf of bread, give you a hug, and we see this on video, and it's like gut wrenching. And you have the people who can barely walk. There's videos I just saw recently of John talking with a woman that looks like my great grandmother, and could have, at a different time would have been, because my family is from Odessa, 150 miles away from you. um, and so what it amounts to is you can't bring anything in, you have to go get it, and you have to buy it locally. And so what you need, and it's the hardest thing in the world to ask for, is money.
Yeah,
You
I
need
wish
you need
it
cash.
was, nobody wants to, but it makes no sense otherwise. So we can buy, 10 times the quantity, given the purchasing power of euros and dollars. And then because it's a project, if I'm strategic about the purchasing, if I can, get volume purchase,
What are we
when you
looking at over
leverage
your
the
right
basically
shoulder? What are the things that we're looking at over your
this,
right shoulder?
Yeah. So these are. This is just another drone. Just all that. So
We just heard a
these
we just heard
are.
a drone alarm go off from your sensor.
Yes, it's like the snooze alarm. Like, I don't really need to know how many machines that you can't see in here that are hunting civilians are in the air above my head. If you want to know at any time, I can tell you. But like, there's always at least one. So, but it goes off. There's no. So this is just supply. You've got and Christina runs this, so I dare not touch it. But you've got kasha, macaroni, um, cooking oil. I really don't know what's in meat. Some of the meat we just picked up yesterday. Uh, Products like that, I really don't know
Adult
how she
diapers,
has
I
this going
heard.
on. Adult diapers are in the storage closet uh, over over here. So there's, it's a big setup here. This is the free store, and we'll set up. It's not we cleaned up for today, but so here's, the 6,000 soups. Uh, the medication. Here's the diaper stack. Not everybody needs those, and those are really expensive.
I
So,
understand. Sure.
not everybody gets one, but we kind of, part of this is too, we're seeing these people because it's a program of assistance. So it really helps
And you've
with
interviewed them,
that.
and you know what their circumstances are and what their needs are. So, I mean, how the best way to get you money is to go over to um, worldaidrunners.org or .net. I mean, my 501c3, which is the protocolworks.com, has committed to supporting at least 15 of your locals, and we've sent
Thank you.
money to you, and
Thank
we've
you.
done it to you direct through your PayPal.
Thank you.
But people can do it through the website World Aid. WAR is the acronym, worldaidrunners.org or .net, and you'll see the places where you can do it. Did you set up a program on that website, which I know is just a plain Jane, not fancy, blah de blah? Like
It's
you
it's
just
a B minus, man.
you
It's
shoot
a
that
B
in the
minus.
leg all the
It's
time. But
hopefully it's functional.
did you set up
Yes,
a recurring donation or no?
my understanding is that is something that, so there's the information. It's PayPal, Venmo, and GoFundMe. There is a way to do the recurring donations on the GoFundMe.
Right.
That's my understanding.
GoFundMe,
And
ta-
my buddy John.
GoFundMe, GoFundMe takes 18% away from the donation, don't they? Or is it fee free
I,
for a not for profit? I'm pretty sure they take a
I,
piece. Venmo
my
and
when I
PayPal
see
do
the,
not.
I hear different things on this. The numbers I see with GoFundMe do not have they're fee free. I
Okay.
don't but I could be wrong about that. But I get kind of a summary at the end of the month. The PayPal, there's no better way to me, honestly. It's not a, obviously we'd like to get the full amount, but I haven't. I'm not aware of any kind of meaningful chunk.
What is it?
So it's really
What's the name of the not for profit?
that World Aid Runners, and yes, we're registered in the United States. It's a 501c3 for American taxpayers. So that the tax documentation is on the website, but if not, people can just reach out and I'll send it to them. So for Americans, yeah, it is tax
Okay.
deductible. Worldaidrunners.net or org, I guess, is the website, and really I mean, it all funnels into the same thing. We're completely overwhelmed here. Candidly, thank you for your support, past and present. And
Yeah.
people make donations. I love it when they let me know because it's really important, as you know, for Christina. Like, I thank people great, but it's one thing coming from me, and it is meaningful for me. These are my friends and neighbors, and this is my second home now. But Christina, on behalf of her people, wants to thank him. So I don't really see the until the end of the month. I get kind of an omnibus report. So if people reach out and say, "Hey, I sent," you don't even have to indicate how much.
Right.
Everybody gets a love bomb, and it's really important for Christina to just thank people. They're so grateful. I mean, it's life saving.
Yeah.
It's life saving.
Yeah. And
So
again, this is like I can't say enough about your presence on TikTok. And hopefully TikTok sticks around because like every day is a window into your life over there. And I mean, I don't think I've seen you miss a day where you're not live and either walking around town or checking up on people or delivering bread or manning the free
Uh,
store. And there's little videos of bombs flying within earshot and the concussions shaking up the world around you. And, attention needs to be paid to what you're doing on a greater level
well,
than it
I
is.
appreciate it. I don't know how else to do it. The live. First of all, I don't really have a lot of time to do. First of all, this isn't sexy, and I don't really believe in. You don't need to juice it up. I mean, it's raw, and I know of no better way to show people what this is than to hit the live button and just to show them. And we want people to feel invested. You know, I don't. It's not really like you're supporting us. You are us. I am just the hands and feet, not just me, but the locals here. We're just. This is people that have feeling grateful for what they have given, so that people that aren't so blessed can live. That's it. And I'm just the connection. And I want people to feel invested in it. First of all, if you give your resources, it's just the right thing to do for people to see where they're going. But more than that, in my experience, you can't get more. And people they want to be impactful. People want to do good. And if there's a way to do good better than to save lives, I don't know what it is. So I want people to see what they're doing. It has a way of motivating things. And this is way above my pay grade. But if I can be a bridge to people like you and others, and to people like John that have come here, and little by little we've been able to expand. It's 900 a month now, but I don't know how else to do it than just to hit the button. And I certainly can't explain it any better.
No,
You
I,
know.
I, I get that. Hey, John, go get next to your buddy over here and help us
Yeah, we
wrap this up because we're approaching an hour,
we're
and I know my
Johnny.
my intent is to do this as frequently as you've got time to do it and push it out
You,
there.
sorry, the signal's bad here. Uh, Mr. Diamond here uh, wanted to make sure we're going to wrap it up. So yes, sir. Yeah, John's a good one to bring it home.
Sell it,
I heard a
baby,
little bit of that.
as my old drama teacher used to say. Sell it, honey.
All right, sell it, honey. I'm a little bit more abrupt than Ben is. I'm not so humble, not so shy. I heard a little bit of your conversation, so let me tell you. I met Ben on TikTok. I was uh, interested in the mission. I've had a colorful life. I'm 65 years old, so just briefly, 65 years of chasing money, things, and women. Been married 4 times, and at some point, you got to give back. I'm not telling you I haven't in the past, but Ben moved me. So, not knowing how this whole thing works or how much money means anything, I don't think you'll mind me telling you. My first donation, I kicked in $1,000. Turns out that's
We all shit our pants, and Christina had a heart attack and thought it was the coming of the Virgin Mary.
yeah, Christina almost. See, I don't know. We give what we can give. I don't know if 5, 10, 100. I don't know. I did a tiny bit of research, tiny bit. And my belief is, do your research first, give the money. After it's gone, it's gone. You gave it. After that, I thought, you know what? Listening to them, listen to Christina and Ben, doing my research, I found out it appears to be a worthy mission. So what did I do? Research on other people inside Ukraine. I don't have an affiliation with Ukraine, Ukrainians, nothing. I oppose death. I oppose war. I oppose death penalty. If it's bad,
And
if
you're a,
it's
and you're a
against humanity.
Texan. And you're a Texan.
I'm a Texan, Dallas, Texan, grew up in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
Even the Russian soldiers across the river, God bless them. They're there. If I could save those lives, I would too, but I just happen to be here. So I did the research, gave the money, and then I decided it's a worthy cause. I'll do it. So I started following, I started giving more. Ben was very, very grateful. He ended up in the United States on one of it. He got off the front. I invited him, please come to Dallas. He did. He came visited. We had a very, very nice visit. So I followed more. Eventually, I wanted to
and please understand, doing all of the research you can until you see it with your face, you don't know what's real. I wanted to confirm, and don't take this wrong, but look, I trust and verify. So I wanted to see where my dollars are going. I found out every dollar is a worthy dollar. So I'm excited. And I have to tell you this, a couple of things. I cannot believe this is as bad as it is. Ben's done a relatively decent job of describing this place.
Hopefully you're not
decent.
talking about the organization.
No, the organization is fantastic.
Okay.
This place, this Kherson, this city. That's good. There was a 3-minute stretch earlier today that I recorded 15. They had a little tank battle going. And I'll tell you this, and I'm going to get off of this. I'm going to be quick with you.
Yeah.
The thing I hate the most, the thing I hate the most is the silence, because you know it's coming.
You know something's
So
coming.
Ben's done a fantastic job. Christina's done a fantastic job. The place it's systemic. It's operating. I don't see inefficiencies. I don't see any waste of time or energy, effort. It's a boom, 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 boom. Very efficient operation come from a businessman. It's incredible.
The last 6 or 7, and that was as of yesterday. The last 6 or 7 short videos that were published that have you in them, are those things that you put together, or somebody else put together?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Ben, who
I'm
claims not to be capable,
incompetent.
what?
I was. We have a procedure. Everybody takes pictures and videos during the day, dumps them into a common chat. At the end of the night, we all have access to that. And I was going through those, and I saw those moments, and I thought John would appreciate that, so I just put together a little thing.
I downloaded.
I don't produce.
I downloaded like 5 of them, and
fantastic.
Put them up, and I'm looking at it and thinking, more of those, Ben. Get more.
Let me
get
make
more
a
of those.
heartbreaking point for you. I want to give you a heartbreaking point. You talked about that little grandma that could have been your great grandma.
Yeah.
93 years old. Broke my heart when she told me she saw German soldiers here. Now she's seen Russian soldiers here. That's heartbreaking to see that woman's gone through all that. Now let me lighten it up and give it back to Ben. She's sitting there, and she told Christina that tell John if something happens in his marriage that I'm available. And so I said, how sweet. So I went over. I was going to kiss her on her cheek. Oh no. I got the lips. Next thing you know, she's gathering up a few things. There's a armless sweater vest, and she looked at that, and they held it up to her, and she said, "That's for the dance after the wedding." So that's for your heart, man. That's for your heart. I'll turn it over to Ben. It's an honorable mission. It's fantastic. It's working. Thank you. Any support? I'm the one that begs. Ben's too humble. I will beg any support. Thank you.
Stay safe, man.
You can't stay safe and help the people.
No, yeah. But meanwhile, you'll make him feel really bad if you even twist your back pulling a box out of the truck. So, and I saw you lugging boxes. Oh, thank you. Excellent.
I broke a tooth out. Dentist tomorrow. Thank you again. Thank you.
All right, man. Shit.
Can I say 30 seconds?
Yeah.
30 seconds. To you and to all the folks who follow you, just a very sincere thank you on behalf of the people here. Thanks for giving a shit, not just about this, but about everybody, and for being the people that you are. And we really appreciate. They really appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough, Bob, for reaching. It's if you're a good human being, you're a good human being, and you just care. And I cannot thank you enough. So to you, I wanted to say that, and to everybody that's part of your awesome, big-hearted posse. This is your free store. This is humanity's free store. I just mind the store. So
I hear you.
Thank you in advance.
Thank you for your dedication, and for being one of the brothers from another mother. I think we think a lot the same, and I look forward to our next conversation. And I'm gonna see what I can do to get more of this word out.
Love you. Appreciate you.
Everybody. Stay safe.
I agree. Talk soon. God bless. God bless.
Yeah.
Slava Ukraini.
Absolutely.
Yaroslav.
I'll learn that. Thanks, my brother.